Part 79. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 786. Wen Shu, your phone keeps ringing and you don't answer it. Li Jinhe was sitting in the living room watching TV, and was very annoyed by the ringtone of his mobile phone. Wen Shi, who was cooking in the kitchen, told Li Jinhe to turn off his phone and not answer anyone's calls today. This strange reaction surprised Li Jinhe. He stood up, picked up the apple and walked to the kitchen, leaning against the door frame and watching Wen Shi cooking. This look and demeanor are exactly the same as when Han Qian is seen in Nuan Nuan. Wen Shu, what's going on with Xiao Qian? Are you letting the child squat in prison now? Wen Shi stir-fried the vegetables in the pot and said softly. Don't pry, ladies. Xiao Qianer will be fine anyway. Let me tell you, teacher Xiaotong was busy with this matter. The number you called just now was the number in Beijing, right? I did not see. I'll prepare the meal later and let's take it to the in-laws' place so that the couple won't worry about the child. Now our daughter is famous throughout the country. Xiao Qian's temper, well, let's not talk about it anymore. Li Jinhe curled his lips, and then sighed. Hey. Now I'm also very irritable. That Ching Ching has protected the little white-eyed wolf once or twice. That time he protected the little white-eyed wolf and confronted the gangsters in Yuanzhou Kailong. What should I do this time? That's it? Indulging Xiao Qian. When she didn't speak and continued cooking. Because he didn't know what to say. It's not just the little girl Yan Ching Ching who dotes on her daughter alone. That nursery rhyme, Jijing, Cai King Hu, who doesn't dote on their daughter. Yan Ching Ching was hospitalized in the hospital, and the girls didn't forget her when they took care of Yan Ching Ching. To put it simply, most of Yan Qingqing's nutritious meals are eaten warm. This. Why? Lao Wen sighed, no matter what, he couldn't care less. No matter from any point of view, his daughter was more than a little inferior to several other girls. In a courtyard in the provincial capital, Li Jinhan pointed at Zhao Wanggu's son, and his grandson yelled. Zhao Wanggu, who was standing aside, was so angry that his beard flew up. Li Jinhan came here to play rogue today. After all, this is a trip to the coast. Zhao Wanggu not only failed to help, but actually held him back. Zhao Hanqing hid aside and snickered, feeling relieved when he saw several cousins being scolded. After scolding for more than an hour, Li Jinhan felt thirsty. He just took a sip of water when the phone rang. He took out his mobile phone and looked at the number in Jingcheng. He frowned and thought for a while before answering the phone. Before he could speak, Chen Zhan had already started. He put in good words and claimed that this time it was just a misunderstanding. Li Jinhan was confused and listened to Chen Zhan ramble for more than 10 minutes, and then said, you made the wrong call. After hanging up the phone, Li Jinhan glared at Zhao Wanggu and said coldly. Zhao, my little Qianer is fine this time. I won't argue with you about this. If something happens to my little Qian, I won't be done with you, and I won't even be able to protect you. You should retire and go home as soon as possible. After saying that, he stood up and waved to Zhao Hanqing. You come back with me and have been working at the grassroots level for how many years? You and your father have broken off the relationship. I will change your position for you. Zhao Hanqing exclaimed. Really? This is a bit of a saying. Although Zhao Wanggu is powerful, he belongs to the military generals. Li Jinhan is the military administrator of the army, and Zhao Hanqing takes the path of Li Jinhan. Zhao Hanqing smiled at the old man. Old Zhao. I am no longer your grandson. As soon as he finished speaking, his father and grandfather stood up at the same time and chased Zhao Hanqing. Zhao Wanggu chased him for 2 steps, and then looked at Li Jinhan. Don't be too proud, kid. After all, Han Qian is an outsider to your Li family. That's more promising than your Zhao family's children. Are you angry? Li Jinhan, who left the compound, was also a little confused. Why did Chen Zhan, who was so arrogant the day before, suddenly slump today? What happened over there by the seaside? I called my brother-in-law with doubts, but the guy turned off his phone. When he was about to call Li Jinhai, the number in Beijing was dialed again. This time it was not Chen Zhan, but the person who called him that day in Binhai, Li Jinhan. Do you want shame? 1 second you asked me not to get involved in this matter, and now you want me to intercede with Chen Zhan? Then he is my nephew and son-in-law, not a son-in-law. I don't know what trouble Chen Zhan has encountered. I will not let go of the opportunity to add insult to injury. After hanging up the phone, Li Jinhan turned off the phone directly. Damn your grandma, no one can use me as a breakthrough point. The dark clouds in Binhai city seemed to be dispersing. People from the capital were looking for excuses to leave. Some people even blocked Chen Zhan's number after leaving Binhai. Chen Zhan, who was still in the ward, looked very decadent. Now the public opinion is getting more and more. He called someone to block and ban people, but it was already too late. Chen Zhan looked at the three people in the ward with disgust in his eyes. Are you happy now? Oh, I shouldn't have to worry about your life or death. I should let Han Qian beat you all to death. After finishing speaking, Chen Zhan left the ward and kept dialing the phone outside the door. The other party found excuses and either refused to answer or simply hung up. Husbands and wives will go their separate ways, let alone these so-called friends. Chen Zhan went to the Yamen gate and met Niu Qiudong. Han Qian, can you interrupt me? Niu Qiudong looked at Chen Zhan with pity in his eyes and laughed. Mr. Chen, I have been helping you, including my father-in-law Cheng Jin. Do you think I can get in the way? Even if I can, I won't help you at this time. Speak, after all, you can't protect yourself. Chen Zhan was not angry and said calmly. Give me Han Qian's criminal record in the city. No. He has only one record of driving a motorcycle without a license. Mr. Chen, I am very busy, so I won't accompany you. After saying that, Niu Qiudong stood up and left. Now that you, Chen Zhan, have no ability to help me, why should I give you a good look? Chen Zhan left the Yamen gate with a pale face. When he went downstairs, he met Cheng Jin. Cheng Jin bowed to Chen Zhan and smiled. Mr. Chen, is Teacher Tong very good? Chen Zhan didn't say anything, so he asked Cheng Jin to intercede. How stupid would one be to do such a thing? When he left the Yamenkao and was about to get in the car, the Volvo suddenly stopped at the main entrance of the Yamenkao. The man in a red suit got out of the car and walked into the Yamenkao. He took out his cigarette and got out of the car. About 20 minutes later, Guan Degu from District 8 came out. Chen Zhan stepped forward and stopped him, saying calmly. Let's talk. Guan Yunbiao frowned. Am I worthy? Chen Zhan ignored the self-mockery and said calmly. I still have some abilities. I'm sorry, I can't afford to be so high. I forgot to tell you. My eldest daughter calls Han Qian uncle. It is this uncle she is most afraid of. Mr. Chen, please find another expert. I don't know how to help when the time is right, and I am very good at adding insult to injury. Chen Zhan nodded, turned, and left, using his remaining connections to find the residence of Han Qian's parents. This was his only hope. After parking the car at the entrance of this urban village and getting off, she saw the yard. There was a girl sitting at the door. Wearing a rabbit hat and white bear paw gloves, she was enjoying the afternoon sunshine. The girl also saw Chen Zhan, sitting on the stone and shaking his calves, smiling. Good afternoon, Mr. Chen. There are distinguished guests coming to our door. Our shabby little courtyard cannot afford to entertain them. Chen Zhan put his hands in his pockets and looked at the nursery rhyme, and said softly. Teacher Tong, is there really no room for negotiation this time? There is a conflict between the children. Besides, I didn't let Han Qian suffer any harm when I came to Binhai this time. Isn't it too much for you to do this? Nursery Rhyme grabbed the rabbit's ears with both hands, shook her head and said. All the documents from the capital have been sent to the province, and you still haven't done anything? Mr. Chen, no one is a fool. Chen Qiang is provoking trouble, and Chen Lei is malicious. I have known for a long time that you will not pay attention to this matter. If nothing else, you probably want to catch the affair between Han Qian and Feng Lun. Once the documents are issued and Han Qian goes to the capital, won't he be the dog meat waiting to be cooked? It's just that I didn't give you this chance. Chen Zhan took a deep breath. If the matter is resolved, I can let Cai Qinghu move up a level. Tong Yao raised her head and smiled innocently. Qinghu is only 27 years old, and her family fortune is too strong. She will be the director of the department when she is promoted. A department director who is less than 30 years old? Tisk, 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 Lord Chen, you are flattering me. Amazing, amazing of. I can replace this person with Cheng Jin. Cheng Jin? He can only sit in his current position. His transfer will not do us any good. I can't think of any conditions you can offer. Han Qian's enemies are Niu Qiudong and Lin Mend. It is not difficult for my Han Qian to deal with these two people, and we girls are not willing to let Niu Qiudong and Lin Mend collapse so early. My Han Qian has a restless character. If Niu Qiudong and Lin Mend are gone, the remaining enemies will be there is only Feng Lun. That is very dangerous, Mr. Chen, you are too arrogant, please don't go in to ask for mercy from my parents. Why? Because I guessed that you would come over, I blocked you here. Do you understand? Chen Zhan turned around and got in the car and left. It turned out that his direction was wrong from the beginning of this incident, and he should not have targeted the forces behind Han Qian. He overestimated Wen Nuan, Yan Qingqing, and Cai Qinghu. Only what was ignored was this humble child teacher, but he lost in the hands of this child teacher. This time she calculated everyone in Binhai, including Han Qian, and everyone was her pawn. When she, Guan Yunbiao, Secretary Yehu apologized, all of this was humming fake. Her only resort is public opinion. Times are advancing and the internet is becoming more popular. Watching Chen Zhan leave, Tan Jiao stood up and shivered, turned around and skipped into the yard. When he was less than 3 meters away from the door, his feet slipped and he fell to the ground with an ouch. Wow! The child monster was thrown and cried. The 4 old people in the house heard the cry and ran out quickly. Looking at the nursery rhyme lying on the ground crying loudly, Qian's mother trotted forward to help this girl with particularly poor motor skills. Wiping the girl's tears, she said distressedly. Little boy, why are you running? Let me see where you fell. Nursery rhyme raised her head and cried loudly. Wow! I fell 4 times in 2 days, Mom. My butt hurts, my chest hurts, my arms hurt, and I'm hungry. Is this still the teacher Tong who forced Chen Zhan to despair? Chapter 2, No More Today. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, A Huan. Chapter 787. When the documents arrived, 6 days after Han Qian was imprisoned, documents from the capital were delivered. Chen Zhan thought he saw hope, but unexpectedly another copy was delivered to him. He also wanted to go back to the capital to do the same as Han Qian. Form. Under review. It was just the 2 people who accompanied Han Qian to the capital that surprised Han Qian. Qin Yezu and Secretary General Li were traveling together. After getting on the highway, Han Qian looked back at the 2 big characters Binhai and said softly. Old Qin, can I come back? Qin Yezu said softly while lying in the back seat and looking at the carport. I don't know. Let's see what we can find out in the end. Between Han Qian and Feng Lun. Ting Qin, your words are a bit confidential. The man driving the car interrupted Qin Yazu's question. Lao Qin sighed softly and continued to look at the roof. This time he followed shamelessly. It was good to get in the car. It took a leisurely 3 hours to get off the car. The last two people from the capital asked Han Qian if he was hungry and if he wanted to eat something. Han Qian nodded and said yes. Not long after, when the bread and ham sausages were stuffed into his hands, Han Qian was slightly stunned and frowned. The people in the capital looked dissatisfied when they saw this and said in a deep voice. This time you. Is there no mineral water? It will make you choke if you eat like this. I thought that Han Qian, who was known as the eldest young master in Binhai, would show off his temper over food and drink, but he only wanted a bottle of mineral water. It's hard to find fault. Han Qian was taken into a government office. He didn't know where this place was. Han Qian was found in a windowless room, pressed on a chair and handcuffed. Then the two left, leaving Han Qian behind. A man sat in the room with confused eyes. The news that Han Qian was taken away once again shocked Binhai. The most surprising thing was that Li Dongsheng returned to Binhai. When he appeared in front of Wu Sijuan was stunned. But Li Dongsheng didn't say anything, he just glanced at Wu Sijuan from a distance and left. Wu Sijuan's body was a little stiff, and he couldn't regain his consciousness after looking at the disappearing car for a long time. Why is he back? Is he here to take revenge on me? Only Li Dongsheng is back. Where is Li Dahai? Thinking of these two people, Wu Sijuan felt uneasy. She was worried that Li Dongsheng would do something extreme and that Li Dahai would seek revenge from him. Hey! A youthful voice rang in her ears. Wu Sijuan slowly turned her head and looked at her little boyfriend. Wu Sijuan squeezed out a smile. The little boyfriend took Wu Sijuan's hand and put a warm roasted sweet potato in her hand. Smiled. If you don't like it, just warm it with your hands, but it's too hot. Then he unbuttoned his coat, took out a bottle of hot tea from his underwear, and smiled innocently at Wu Sijuan. Wu Sijuan felt much better. He glared at Xiaoran angrily and helped him tie the buttons. When she turned around, she found Li Dongqing's car parked in front of the school again. The ghost lingers. Wu Sijuan took a deep breath and said softly to Xiaoran. Would you like to book a room? After saying this, Xiaoran's face became happy, but then she became a little lonely and whispered. You lie to me every time. Wu Sijuan didn't speak, and stared at the car until the car left. Wu Sijuan took Xiaoran's hand and ran away from the school, got in the car, and booked a room. Xiaoran didn't know what happened to Wu Sijuan, but he was waiting for this. It's been a long day of waiting. This time Wu Sijuan was not teasing her little boyfriend. Wu Sijuan was very proactive. She gave Xiaoran a complete first time. After the clouds and rain passed, Wu Sijuan hid himself under the quilt and said coldly. Suit up. Xiaoran was stunned for a moment, and then when he reached out to touch Wu Sijuan pushed him away, with cold eyes and a cold voice. Put on your clothes and let's break up. After saying this, Wu Sijuan got out of bed, put on his clothes, and quickly left the hotel, leaving Xiaoran lying on the bed with a confused face. He hadn't come back to his senses until the sound of the door slamming reached his ears, and Xiaoran finally woke up. Put on clothes and hurriedly chased downstairs, but Wu Sijuan's car was gone. Xiaoran stood on the icy and snowy road and shouted at the back of the car. Wu Sijuan! You liar! You are just a liar! As Wu Sijuan was driving, she felt that her vision was blocked, and tears fell down her cheeks. She fell in love with Xiaoran on a whim, and then she really liked her. If possible, she would also like to grow old together, but she didn't want Xiaoran to know her experience, and she was worried that she would cause him trouble. Cut the mess with a sharp knife. This is what Wu Sijuan is best at. When she is cruel to others, she is even more cruel to herself. Fumbling around, I took out my cell phone and dialed a number I hadn't dialed in hundreds of days. "What are you doing back here? If Han Qian catches you, you will die." The other person on the phone sneered. "Han Qian? He knows that he won't be in any big trouble, but he won't be able to come back in a short time. Wu Siquan. I just found out about what you did not long ago. You ruined my parents' marriage, and I want to ruin it too. It will destroy your reputation in Binhai City. I will let your boyfriend know that you, a bitch, serve our father and son, and I will let everyone know." "Boyfriend? Haha, Li Dongsheng, you don't know me yet? I, Wu Sigwan, will only have a face, and will never have such a thing as a boyfriend. Even you at the beginning were just a tool I used. You can go as far as you like. Preach it, but don't let me catch you." Each other. After hanging up the phone, Wu Sijuan parked the car on the side of the road and cried loudly. This was a matter between him and Li Dongsheng. She didn't know who to ask for help except Han Qian, and she didn't want anyone other than Han Qian to know about it. In the entire Binhai, there were only 3 people who knew about the means Wu Sigwan used to defeat Li Dahai: Han Qian, Luo Shanda, and Gao Zixi. Now that Han Qian is away, will they help? Rather than adding insult to injury? Wu Siquan once again hated her own incompetence. In 1 year, she gained nothing but more money in her hands. "I've cried enough and I'm tired of crying." Wu Siquan drove to the city for a shopping spree. She was well prepared. After Li Dongsheng started spreading rumors, she hid at home and could not come out. When she returned home, Wu Siquan looked at Han Qian's number and struggled with it for a long time, but finally did not dial it. At this time, Li Dongsheng had already gone to Xiaoran. At the same time, Han Qian has been sitting in this room for 3 hours. No one has been here during this period. He only has half a bottle of mineral water to accompany him, and he doesn't even have a cigarette. Han Qian has not made any noise or fuss, and is tired from sitting. When you are tired, stand up and move around. When you are tired of standing, sit on a chair. 5 hours passed like this. When the door was opened, Han Qian was already asleep on the cold concrete floor, using half a bottle of mineral water as a pillow. 3 people walked in, 2 men and 1 woman. The man stepped forward. He lightly kicked Han Qian's feet. "Get up. This is not a place for you to sleep. I will arrange a place for you to sleep later." Han Qian opened his eyes drowsily, stood up and sat on the chair, and said softly, "Is there any cigarette?" The 3 of them ignored Han Qian, and the man frowned and asked, "Name?" Han Qian. Age? 26. Gender? Shall I take off my pants and show you? Han Qian raised his head and looked at the man. The man was wearing a suit and did not have any identifying information on him. At this time, Han Qian felt resentful in his heart, but he knew that he could not act like Binhai here. When the 3 of them were silent, Han Qian spoke. "Before you ask me, shouldn't you introduce yourself?" "No. You don't need to know who I am or when you and Feng Lun met." Han Qian took a deep breath and said calmly, "Last spring, it was about to enter summer. Why do you remember it so deeply?" "Because my junior was beating him up, and I happened to meet him." "Why did I meet you by such a coincidence and not be met by anyone else? Then how come you were reincarnated as a man by such a coincidence, and why you are not a woman? Please explain it to me first, and I will explain it to you." This man challenged Han Qian's inner limits step by step. The woman in her 40s frowned and blocked the man's words, speaking softly. "My name is Zhou Hui. I can't tell you my identity. You can call me Zhou Chu, or you can call me by my name." Han Qian ignored it. Zhou Hui took out a pack of cigarettes, handed one to Han Qian, and helped light it. Han Qian took a puff of the cigarette and said thank you. At this time, Zhou Hui spoke. You said that your junior beat up Feng Lun. Do they have the fists and kicks that can beat Feng Lun? What's the reason? Han Qian raised his head and looked at Zhou Hui and said calmly. The reason is that my junior and several of her friends are delinquents. They beat up an old woman who was scavenging. Feng Lun couldn't bear it and stepped forward to persuade her. As a result, she was beaten. As for whether you can beat Feng Lun. Have you met Feng Lun? Have you ever done anything with him? Zhou Hui shook her head and said softly. No, I've read some information. I think as a gangster, he shouldn't be very weak. Han Qian smiled and shook his head. You are wrong. Feng Lun and I have fought before. God is fair. If you give him a smart brain, you will not give him a strong body. Besides, a child of 16 or 17 years old should not be considered a child, right? Zhou Hui smiled and said softly. It seems that I believed the information too much. You said in Binhai that you could contact Feng Lun? Really? Han Qian narrowed his eyes, smiled, and said softly. It's fake, it's a boast. We both fought hard, and I can't contact him. Then the man spoke. You can't contact him? What's going on with your call records? Han Qian frowned and replied. You can only make calls but not receive calls. I can't change the number on my mobile phone. He called me. Tell me, what should I do? My back hurts when I stand and talk. Where were you when Feng Lun committed the crime? Feng Lun, where were you when Lun kidnapped Niu Ziahua? Now he's interrogating me like crazy. Come on, tell me what crime you committed. Today you can't tell me 1, 2, 3, 4. No matter what the price, they will prosecute you 3. Another thing is, I have the right to remain silent. You will come to arrest me after you get the evidence. In 24 hours or 48 hours, we will figure out other things. Han Qian stopped talking. No matter what the 3 of them said, Han Qian didn't say a word. Finally, the 3 of them saw that there was no need to stay and left the room one after another, leaving Han Qian alone in this room without windows. In a lighted room. Haha, mental pressure? It's strange that I'm afraid of you. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 788. Xiaoran. Li Dongsheng appeared behind Xiaoran, looked around the bar, then sat next to Xiaoran and ordered a glass of whiskey. Xiaoran turned his head and glanced at Li Dongsheng, frowning. We know each other. Li Dongsheng chuckled softly. Si Quan and I are friends. I heard her mention you. Why are you drinking here alone, without Si Quan accompanying you? She used to like the nightclub atmosphere. Xiaoran laughed, ignored Li Dongsheng, and continued drinking. Li Dongsheng didn't seem to be in a hurry and said softly while holding the wine glass. Do you know Sigwan? From her words, I feel that she likes you quite a lot. Ah. If you like someone, you have to accept their past, no matter what bad experiences they have had in the past. Xiaoran slowly turned his head, followed Han Qian's example, narrowed his eyes and looked at Li Dongsheng, and said calmly. What do you want to express? To show that you know Si Quan well. Li Dongsheng smiled. I'm just reminding you. After all, I also hope that you and Si Quan can be together for a long time. After all, it's not easy for her to find a man who can accept her past. Xiaoran stood up and left the bar with a glass in hand. After walking more than 10 steps, Li Dongsheng suddenly spoke. Wu Sijuan should be raising you now, right? Spending money on you before selling her meat. Xiaoran stopped, turned around and looked at Li Dongsheng, and said indifferently. You'd better shut up. Shut up? Don't you know that Wu Sijuan is my ex-girlfriend? She gave me her first time, but this shameless woman is afraid of getting into my father's bed. I'm not afraid of being embarrassed. I want everyone in Binhai to know, how did this bitch Wu Siquan get rich? She got her money from selling meat. Boom. Xiaoran punched Li Dongsheng in the face. Li Dongsheng took 2 steps back, covered his face and continued. Do you want to know how Wu Siquan serves us? Haha, do you want to see her being ravaged? I can tell you, vividly. Xiaoran punched Li Dongsheng in the face again. He didn't say anything. He just kept punching, punching, and punching. Finally, the police came, took Xiaoran away, and sent Li Dongsheng to the hospital. From the beginning to the end, Li Dongsheng never fought back. It was simply too easy to destroy someone. You're a junior in jail and want your diploma? Hee hee. When your family knew about this and told Xiaoran's parents about Wu Sijuan's experience, thinking about Wu Sijuan's expression, Li Dongsheng suddenly felt unusually excited. Bitch, you have this day too. The person was taken to the police station, and Li Dongsheng's lawyer followed closely behind him. They said that if they did not want compensation, their family was not short of money, so they would hold this college student criminally responsible. Late at night, Wu Sijuan was awakened by the ringing of his cell phone, and then hurried to the police station. After questioning, he learned that Xiaoran had beaten Li Dongsheng. Wu Sijuan's heart sank to the bottom, and he made a request to talk to Xiaoran alone, and the police agreed. Wu Sijuan walked into the room and looked at Xiaoran sitting on the chair. She took a deep breath and said coldly. Why are you calling me? We have broken up and have nothing to do with each other. Xiaoran raised his head and looked at Wu Siquan and said softly. Can you give me a cigarette? Then you can go home. I will bear the trouble myself. Wu Siquan roared in a low voice. Responsibility? What are you responsible for? Do you know who you are beating? Do you know the conditions of his family? Xiaoran said lightly. Li Dongsheng, I didn't know it just now, but I know it now. Wu Sijuan's face turned pale and he said with a trembling voice. What did he say to you? Nothing, we didn't talk. I just didn't like him. I don't know why you broke up with me. You told me before that we wouldn't be together forever. I would go to jail. I studied law. I knowing how long I will be sentenced, I am not using this method to pray for you and me to be together, see each other one last time, say goodbye, that's it. After finishing speaking, Xiaoran shouted to the police outside the door. Send me to prison. I plead guilty. I beat Li Dongsheng for no reason. The police came in, and Xiaoran was taken into a car and sent away not long after. His determination made Wu Sijuan feel that all the strength in her body was drained. She was so angry that she wanted to kill this bastard Li Dongsheng right now. Standing at the door of the police station, Wu Sijuan looked at the sky, and then Wu Sijuan went to the city bureau. Hope. She hopes Li Jinhai can remember her name. Wait from now until dawn. At 9 o'clock, Wu Sijuan walked out of Li Jinhai's office in despair. Li Jinhai gave her help, so that Xiaoran could live comfortably in there and not be bullied, and tried his best to get him out of prison earlier. As soon as Wu Siquan left, Cai Qinghu pushed away and walked into the office, wondering. What are you doing here, Wu Siquan? Asking about Han Qian. Li Jinhai shook his head and said calmly. Her little boyfriend beat up a man named Li Dongsheng, who seems to be Li Dehai's son. Now he's been arrested. He came here to plead for mercy and get information. Li Dongsheng? Hearing this name, Cai Qinghu always felt familiar, but he couldn't remember who it was, so he frowned and said softly. How is my husband-in-law doing? I called Qin Yazu, and he said he still hasn't seen anyone there. It's very strange. Li Jinhai curled his lips and said. The water in the capital is so deep that I, a little official, can't get a word in, but I know that Chen Zhan is finished this time. I heard that he was punished when he returned to the capital. By the way, there is one more thing about King Hu. Tang Wei was sent to the hospital not long ago. He was covered in injuries, his front teeth were knocked out, and his eyebrow bone was cracked. But no matter how you asked him, he would not say who was beaten. It happened to adjust the monitoring of glory. The surveillance system failed during that time. Do you know this? I don't know. Don't ask me. All I can think about now is my husband-in-law. You can go to work. I'll leave first. After going out, Cai King Hu slapped his forehead and took out his mobile phone to call Yan Qingqing. The call was quickly connected and Cai King Hu whispered. In the past, there was a man named Li Dongsheng in your company, and his relationship with Han Qian was very tense. Yes. Why do you suddenly ask about this? This person seems to be in Binhai now and was beaten by Wu Sijuan's boyfriend. I heard that Wu Sijuan came over to plead for her boyfriend just now. What? You said Li Dongsheng is in Binhai? What's going on? Something happened to Han Qian, and everyone here doesn't stop, they all think they can fight. Go and find out how Han Qian is doing now, this Li Dongsheng friend give it to me. Alright. Cai King Hu hung up the phone. In the hospital, Yan Qingqing frowned while holding her mobile phone, thinking about what to do about this matter. After struggling for about 5 minutes, Yan Qingqing contacted Tu Xiao. Boss Tu, do you remember that Li Dongsheng? This man is in Binhai now and seems to be very unfavorable to this little girl Wu Siguan. Can you help me? I understand. Take good care of the child, her aunt, and call her if you need anything. After hanging up the phone, Yan Qingqing still felt something was wrong, so this time he called Gao Foling. Vice President Gao is busy. Gao Xing, who was feeding the fish at this time, said calmly. I'm not busy. Is there something wrong with Mr. Yan? Something happened. Do you remember from whom we snatched the shares? Now this person's son is in Binhai, and now Han Qian is not here, and I am in the hospital again, you say. I know, I'm going to deal with Li Dongsheng. It's better to hurry up. Wu Sijuan's boyfriend is in jail because of him. Let's resolve it before he is sentenced. I see. After hanging up the phone, Gao Xing'ai looked at the 2 fish in the fish tank and narrowed his eyes. Why are all these clowns popping up? After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 789. Han Qian is like a tiger in Binhai. His departure makes people think that this time Binhai has become an empty mountain without a leader, and everyone wants to get a piece of the pie and compete for Binhai's dominance. Be it Tang Wei or Li Dongsheng. This is just a clown. What is more sad now is Lu Guangming. The government office suddenly puts pressure on him, and many old scores are revealed. Early the next morning after Han Qian left Binhai, another news came out. Lu Guangming was taken away by people from the Procuratorate for investigation. But it's not over yet. Luo Shanda was transferred to another position, but Luo Shanda was unwilling and took the initiative to resign. Wu Siquan's boyfriend is in jail. The only thing that's okay now is high execution. But, just as he was about to go out, someone from the city bureau came to the door. Vice President Gao, you are involved in a case. Please come back with us to be investigated. Gao Xing'ai frowned slightly. Case? What case? You were involved in a fight with Mr. Tang Wei, the deputy director of the planning department of the Honor Group. The results of Mr. Tang Wei's disability determination have come out. Please come with us. Gao Xingcheng chuckled. To stop a person who attempted rape, my courageous act of justice turned into violence. What a good way. What a way. This is taking advantage of Han Qian's absence to catch us all. Let's go, I'll go with you. After getting in the car, Gao Jingcheng didn't even know who had reported him. He was sure that all the surveillance cameras had been destroyed. Yang Lan was not present at the time. Who was it? When he arrived at the Yamen gate, Gao Xingcheng narrowed his eyes and smiled. Lin Mend. Ha! He is so cruel and ruthless. Gao Jingcheng's guess was correct. Lin Zongheng abandoned Tang Wei. After learning that Tang Wei was injured, Lin Zongheng sent people to the parking lot to look for clues. The result was just as he expected, and he was actually found in a car. The surveillance video of the driving record was obtained. Although there was a scene of Tang Wei and Yang Lan tearing up, there was no sound, and there was no scene of Tang Wei trying to violate Yang Lan. Gao Jingcheng also ignored one thing. His driving record only contains scenes of him hitting a burro with his car and beating Tang Wei. In the office of the president of Changxiang Group, Lin Zongheng looked out the window with squinted eyes. After struggling for a while, Lin Zongheng contacted Lu Shenge. Eunuch Lu, how are you doing lately? If you have something to say, you have to fart. Let me tell you some news. Don't be scared. Tang Wei revealed to me Glory's secret plan for next year. Do you think this is a surprise for me? Ah! Lu Shenge sneered, and Lin Zongheng continued. There's another thing you should have known for a long time, right? I almost fell down not long ago. If Tang Wei hadn't found a way for me to get a sum of money, I guess Changxiang would have changed its owner now. I have to thank you, eunuch, for finding me such a lucky star. Oh. Also, he also helped me send Gao Jishi to prison. Now Yan Qingqing is in the hospital and Gao Jishi is in prison. What do you think? Did Glory lose 2 generals? Where is Tang Wei? Ward 603, 2nd Ward on the 6th floor of the city hospital, don't thank me. After hanging up the phone, Lin Zongheng burst out laughing. Yang Ian's testimony was not credible. Lin Zongheng was worried that Tang Wei would turn against him because of this matter. What if he did something secretly? Nip problems in the bud. This waste has no use anymore, so we should return it to Lu Shenge. Our Lin family doesn't need a dog that can no longer bite. Tang Wei probably still thinks that he will receive a generous reward from Lin Zongheng. Lu Shenge drove to the hospital and called Yates on the way. Thank you so much. You're welcome. Do you need me to give you a neat solution? No need, everything you have is given to you by me. Do you think you are more proficient than me? So I gave you Tang Wei, Mr. Lu, and we are settled. At this time, the veins on Lu Shenge's forehead popped out. What he hated most in his life was betrayal. Yates was driven away by him, and this Tang Wei betrayed him. If he could tell the story about the Lin family earlier, I'm afraid at this time, Changxiang Group was already the 2nd branch of their Lin Group in Binhai. Tang Wei. The car was thrown at the entrance of the hospital. Lu Shenge rushed towards the main entrance of the hospital and happened to bump into Guan Yunbiao. Lu Shenge said angrily. Your dog doesn't have eyes. Guan Yunbiao gritted his teeth and said. Damn it, you don't look at the road. Are you looking for Li Dongsheng too? Li Dongsheng? Lu Shenge was stunned for a moment, then roared. Li Dongsheng is back. Have no idea. Guan Yunbiao trotted all the way, Lu Shenge squeezed into the elevator closely behind him. When they reached out to press the word 6 at the same time, they were stunned. When they reached the 6th floor, Guan Yunbiao went to find Tang Wei, and Guan Yunbiao took out the short knife from his waist and asked for Li Dongsheng. But not long after, the two were sent out of the ward. Guan Yunbiao was handcuffed, and Lu Shenge was ordered not to come even half a step closer to Tang Wei's ward. Lu Shenge was so angry that her face turned green. At this time, Lin Zongheng called again. Come. Eunuch Lu, calculate the time and you should be at the hospital, right? I have prepared a surprise for you. Lin bastard, one day I will smash your bastard shell into pieces. Why do you, like Han Qian, like to say harsh words? Even if he is fine in the capital, it will take him half a month to come back. This half month is enough time for me to deal with you guys. Oh. Su Hongchang, you still do you remember? Ah. There was also a woman named Yates. It's the easiest place to get into a car accident in this world of ice and snow. Lu Shenga was so angry that his face turned blue, and the veins on his forehead were like earthworms. He roared angrily at Guan Yunbiao, who was being escorted into the elevator. Guan Degu, none of you are protecting Yates. After saying this, Guan Yunbiao, who was handcuffed, was stunned, and Lu Shenga saw a bit of panic in his eyes. There is really no one. Cao Nima, Guan Degu, are you a pig? I don't give a damn. Guan Yunbiao struggled to get free, and then his body trembled and he was dragged into the elevator. Attack with a knife? Another one. Lu Shenga got in the car and took a deep breath when he was about to leave. He picked up a water glass and smashed it against the car window. The windshield cracked. Lu Shenga took out his mobile phone and called Yates. No one answered. At this time, Yates was confused. His Lexus, which he had just bought less than a month ago, was hit. Two large trucks sandwiched the Lexus. The front and rear of the car had changed. The 5-meter-long car now only had a little more rice. The ambulance and rescue team came, and the two truck drivers were taken away. Yates was carried on a stretcher. She didn't know where she was injured. She just felt pain all over her body. After Lu Shenga got the news, she drove to the second courtyard. This is a warm place, Yates will definitely be sent here. Lu Shenga didn't know why. After learning that Yeji was injured, he felt a little worried, just like he felt when he learned that Yan Qingqing was injured. These two women are his students. At the traffic light, Lu Shenga was about to light a cigarette. Then he saw a large truck speeding towards the opposite side. He smiled and looked down at the rear-view mirror. Two cars were speeding towards him from the left and right. Jumping. That will definitely lead to death. Bah! Lu Shenga lit the cigarette with a lighter, stepped on the accelerator and rushed towards the large truck. Come on. Let the scene of that year be replayed in front of me. After saying this, Lu Shenga turned to look at the co-pilot. A woman was glaring at him, and a voice that he had missed for many years rang in his mind. You have to live. Just as he was about to collide with the large truck, Lu Shenga turned the steering wheel hard, and the large truck hit the rear of the car. The domineering car, which he had owned less than half a year ago, was overturned. His vision was bright red. Lu Shenga saw several people walking towards this direction. He tremblingly took out a cigarette from his pocket, took out a lighter and lit the cigarette, saying softly, "Honey, can I survive today?" After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 790. Let the foursome cause problems first. Now that Han Qian is not here, it is these women who are making suggestions. The foursome are restrained, and their only helper is Guan Yunbiao. Catching Guan Yunbiao is equivalent to pulling out Han Qian's presence. Marina teeth. As for the rest of the people, they are just fish and meat. This is Lin Zongheng's plan. Lu Shenga lay in the car and looked at the several people approaching. They were holding crowbars and wrenches in their hands. Lu Shenga was not naive enough to think that they were here to save people. Now he was not in the mood to feel where his body was injured. Looking at the flowing oil, Lu Shenga took out the lighter. Beaten to death? How could I, a young master from the capital, be beaten to death as one of Benhai's 4 major evildoers? A man in black wearing a suit and a mask walked forward and squatted next to Lu Shenga's head, holding a wrench in his hand, and said calmly, "Director Qian asked me to kill you." After saying this, he raised the wrench in his hand. At this time, there was a rush of footsteps behind the man, and someone shouted loudly. "Hurry up and save people. Call 120, hurry up, help me, don't look at me." Some people were watching the excitement, and some were enthusiastic people. After shouting, the onlookers on the street came to their senses and hurried towards the car. The man in the suit said in a low voice when he saw this, "You're lucky." After saying that, the man in the suit stood up and left in a hurry. Lushenka held the lighter in his hand tightly, looked at the back of the man in the suit with eyes full of anger, and whispered, "I will kill you." Lushenka closed his eyes. He didn't know how he was sent to the hospital, and it was the second city hospital of Nuan. Yates was still operating at this time. Nuan watched Lushenka being sent to the hospital covered in blood. Then she was stunned. This is definitely no coincidence. Absolutely not. When Nuan hurriedly ran to find Yan Qingqing, opened the door and said eagerly, "Yan Fox, Yates, and Lushenka. Nuan, Gao Xingcheng, and Guan Yunbiao have been imprisoned." When Nuan was stunned again, what happened? How come so many things happened in just one day? Han Qian has only been gone for a day. When Nuan looked at Yan Qingqing with confused eyes and said softly, "What should we do now?" Yan Qingqing rubbed her temples with both hands and whispered, "If you are panicked, don't be confused. Take your time. I'll ask Cheng Jin to find out what's going on with Gao Zixi and Guan Yunbiao first." Yes, find Cheng Jin." When Nuan turned around and ran out the door, Yan Qingqing took a deep breath. Within a minute, the ward door was pushed open. When Nuan was dragged back by Cai Qinghu and frowned at Yan Qingqing. "Now you let Nuan out? This is obviously someone who is targeting us. Can't you understand? Yates and Lushenka are both in the operating room now. Don't look for Cheng Jin. He can't protect himself now." Guan Yunbiao was caught with a knife now. Gao Xingxing violently beat Tang Wei into a second-degree disability, and he faces half a year in prison. As for Guan Yunbiao, it's hard to say, who else is out there now? Yan Qingqing shook her head, and then hurriedly called Ji Jing. After the call was connected, she learned that Ji Jing was now with Jianling. Yan Qingqing breathed a sigh of relief, and Cai Qinghu said again, "You just stay in the hospital and don't do anything. Just wait until my husband comes back." Yan Qingqing frowned. "Is Han Qian okay?" "My husband, he shouldn't have any major problems, but it will take half a month before he comes back. Just stabilize yourself during this period. Don't panic, especially when Nuan. You should stay in the hospital now. I think you will be older. It's impossible for my uncle and your second uncle to help." "Oh." Nuan nodded. She was obedient. She knew that her mind was not as smart as these girls, so she opened her mouth to nursery rhyme, which had been silent for a long time. "Don't panic about this matter. We can't figure out the relationship between Yates and Han Qian now. If he goes crazy and wants to come back, he may cause trouble with the capital's Yamanmen. Cai Qinghu, what are you busy with recently?" Cai Qinghu scratched his head and frowned. "The higher-ups suddenly gave me some additional workload. I can't refuse it yet, and I can't spare the time. As for me, you don't have to worry. I have a gun. Instead, I said I was going to assassinate a prosecutor. That's why I'm here. I can't cover them. I'll leave first. You keep an eye on the nurses here." Nuan nodded. "I understand. I'm going to call Shisai now." At this time, Yu Shisai also encountered some troubles. The partner he originally contacted suddenly terminated the contract and blatantly told Yu Shisai that they were going to cooperate with Chang Xiang. The sudden change caught Yu Shisai off guard. 3 hours later, Yates came out of the operating room with multiple fractures on his body, the calf being the most serious. The calf was scratched, leaving a suture scar of about 7 centimeters. Yates stared at the ceiling blankly. Wanfang, who was standing by, looked at Yates and comforted him gently. Han Qian likes black stockings. Why don't we just have bare legs from now on? You can't think too much. 2 big trucks are attacking you. If you were driving that little BMW, you would have been crushed. It's a wise choice to change cars. Yates looked at the ceiling and said calmly. Han Qian asked me to change the car. When I was buying the car, he specifically asked which car was more crash resistant, and then he chose this RX. I didn't think much about it at the time, and thought he was doubting my driving skills. Alas. Wanfang comforted her softly. Let's just be more careful when driving in the future and stay away from large trucks. Someone is trying to kill me. When these words came out, Wanfang was slightly startled, and Yates narrowed his eyes and said coldly. I know who it is. Now that they see that my master is not in Binhai, they will first remove me and Guan Yunbiao, the 2 biggest threats. Don't worry, my heart is not that fragile. Wanfang nodded, looking at Yeji with distressed eyes. 7 hours. Lu Shengge left the operating room. He had many serious injuries on his body. The most serious one was a fractured neck. It was a miracle that he was alive. His injuries were concentrated on his upper body. Lu Shengge was lying on the hospital bed with his eyes open and looking at the secretary who came over said calmly. Don't do anything. The secretary looked at him with red eyes and Lu Shengge said coldly. I'm not dead yet. Go out and cry. Don't tell Xiao Wu and my mother. Just tell them that I recently went to an offline game party. Also, go adjust the surveillance and find the guy with the wrench. The secretary nodded with red eyes and walked all the way back to the ward when Lu Shengge suddenly spoke. How is Yates? The secretary choked. She came out at noon and she didn't know yet. Don't tell her. My injury has nothing to do with her. I, Lu Shengge, will never use bitter tricks to retain someone, nor will I regret driving someone away. If you work hard, you will be the only one left among my students. I'm with you. The secretary trotted out of the ward. Not long after, a black man over 2 meters tall walked into the ward. Lu Shengge looked at the falling snow outside the window and said calmly. After Zioku finds the person, you go and clean up. The black man turned around and left without saying a word. Lu Shengge said as he was going out. Don't touch his family. Every injustice has its own owner. The black bodyguard turned to look at Lu Shengge and said stiffly. Can I play by myself? Don't be too bloody. After the black man left, Lu Shengge closed his eyes. He missed the sound he heard when he was about to die. He would never hear it again in this life, and he would never forget it in his life. Stay alive. At this time, it was already dark outside. Employees of the honor group were clocking out of get-off work. Suliang and Qianwan were blocked on the remote road entering the community. 2 cars with Beijing license plates in front and behind sandwiched the GTR. Suliang. He took a deep breath and said softly. Big money, don't move in the car. After I get out of the car, lock the car and prepare to call the police. No matter what happens, don't get out of the car. As soon as he finished speaking, Suliang took off his down jacket and shirt, wrapped the thermal blanket in his shirt and carried it in his hand, opened the car door and got out of the car. There were 6 or 7 men in front and behind. At the same time, Suliang's Mercedes-Benz parked in the honor parking lot was smashed, and no one there found Suliang. These people are here for Qianwan. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 791. It was already 7 o'clock. Qianling kept pacing in the living room and called Qianwan many times, but the call could not be connected. Qianwan was also very anxious at this time. She wanted to call the police, but there was no signal on her mobile phone. These people are well prepared. They came here with a signal jammer. The most important thing for thugs from wealthy families is equipment. The white shirt in Suliang's hand had been dyed red, and two men had already ran away covering their bleeding heads. Suliang waved the thermos cup and sneered. "Are you spending a lot of money? Haha, change your accent the next time you take pictures in Beijing." Several people were too lazy to talk nonsense with Suliang. Someone pointed at Qianwan with a baseball bat. Qianwan was sitting in the driver's seat and used full power to hit the Audi in front. Someone was knocking on the window with a baseball bat. Suliang waved the thermos cup in his hand and rushed forward to rescue Qianwan. The front of the GTR had been knocked out of shape, but it successfully broke through the encirclement and drove away. Qianwan ran away, 7 people surrounded Suliang, and the leading man spoke. "Don't be impatient. I'll deal with you first, and then deal with your wife. It's said that pregnant women have a special flavor." Suliang chuckled after hearing this, narrowed his eyes and said disdainfully, "We'll wait until a few of you can leave alive." The stick fell on Suliang. Qianwan drove all the way back to the villa. Uncle Zhong, who was standing outside, looked at the eldest lady's car and guessed something was wrong. Qianwan opened the car door and shouted loudly, "Uncle Zhong, say Brother Liang, it's on the small road on the north road, Uncle Zhong." Uncle Zhong turned around and went to the cellar in the yard. When he came out again, he held a double-barreled shotgun in his hand and drove Qianwan's GTR in a row. Qianwan trotted all the way back to the villa, threw herself into Qianling's arms and cried loudly, "Gu, when will my brother come back? No one in Binhai would dare to do this to me." Qianling hugged her precious nephew, her eyes filled with anger. No one would notice the disappearance of several people in the huge Binhai city. In the ice and snow, Suliang's body was covered with bruises and bruises. At this time, he was riding on someone's body. The thermos cup in his hand kept hitting the other person's face, and the sticks fell on his back like raindrops. Suliang fell. "Give up, I will take one of you away even if I die today." Boom. A sap hit Suliang on the head. Suliang slowly raised his head, blood flowing down his forehead. As soon as he raised his hand, his eyes closed and he passed out. The man who was beaten by Suliang riding beside him, the person was unconscious at this time. The leader spat at Suliang. "Put it in the trunk and take care of the injury yourself." Several people lifted Suliang and put it into the trunk. The hit Audi started the car and drove away slowly. The two cars left the north road one after another and headed straight for the graveyard. The graves with tombstones on the graveyard in the middle of the night were a bit scary. This was the only place where coffins were buried in Binhai city. The leading man got out of the car and spoke to his men. "Go get the shovel, dig a hole and bury the Suliang." The two men walked to the trunk of the second car to get tools. The leading man opened the trunk and looked at the unconscious Suliang. He wiped the forehead that was smashed by the thermos cup and punched Suliang twice in the side of the face. The moment the trunk of the second car was opened, a double-barreled shotgun was pressed against a man's nose. The two men froze, raised their hands, stepped backstage, and climbed out of the trunk wearing black masks. The dark barrel of the gun was pressed against his face. At this moment, this man realized what it means to have someone outside. The current Binhai inspection and control of knives is very strict. Where did this man get the gun, and when did he hide it in the trunk? Uncle Zhong didn't talk nonsense to them. He knocked one of them unconscious with the butt of his rifle, and then stretched out his hand to pinch the other's neck. The old man actually lifted a 150-60-pound man up with one hand. With a little force on his right hand, the man's whole body lying limply on the ground. Frightened. Several other people heard the noise, and they were a little frightened by the sudden appearance of such a monster in the dark night. The leading man just raised the baseball bat in his hand. Boom! Without any hesitation, Uncle Jean pulled the trigger and fired. There was a gunshot, and the baseball bat in the man's hand fell to the ground. He stood there blankly. Gun. Uncle Jean loaded the bullet slowly and said nothing. Boom. Another shot was fired. The man looked down at the bullet hole in his chest, and then he collapsed weakly on the ground. Uncle Jean glanced at the other three guys. All three guys knelt on the ground and kowtowed. Uncle Jean fired without any warning. Looking at the muzzle of the gun with green smoke, Uncle Jean continued to load bullets. About half an hour later, Uncle Jean drove away. Suliang was sitting in the passenger seat. In the trunk was the man who had been shot. Suliang was picked up by Ada at the intersection entering the city. Then Uncle Jean drove away and disappeared into the darkness. Middle. 5 men from Fengshan were crowded into a car, and each of them was missing a finger on his right hand. There is one more patient admitted to the second city hospital. Suliang, Mr. Su. Qianling led people to the second city hospital and met Uncle Jean at the door of the hospital. Uncle Jean looked calm, as if nothing had happened, and bowed to Qianling. Madam, Secretary Ye and the boy from the Lu family both had car accidents today and are in the hospital now. It doesn't seem like it was done by the boy from the Lu family. Qianling nodded and said calmly. You go home. Wan Wan was frightened. Just follow me here. Don't inform Suliang's family yet. I have asked Xiao Saner to pick up Li Li and take her to the villa. Please stop talking. Yes. Madam. At this time, Wen Nuan was crying into a ball in Yan Qingqing's room. Several girls took turns coaxing her, but Wen Nuan just kept crying. I want to call Han Qian. I want him to come back. What has happened in just one day? Yates is hospitalized, Su Hongchang is hospitalized, Lu Shenga is hospitalized, and Suliang was sent here just now. Yu Shisai said softly. Nuan, don't worry first. Han Qian is in trouble in the capital now. We can't distract him. Just hold on until Han Qian comes back. Nursery rhyme followed. Yes, Nuan, don't worry first, the most important thing is to find out who is behind it now. Yan Qingqing said angrily. Who else is that little bastard from the Lin family? Nuan was crying and kept crying. Yan Qingqing got a little annoyed and roared angrily. What's the point of crying? I can do nothing but cry. Han Qian is the one who pampered you. King Hu, you take someone to send Wen Nuan back to his parents. You two stay in the hospital with nursery rhymes and poems. I'm going to find Lin Zongheng now. If you have anything, come to me. Yan Qingqing was about to get out of bed while talking, and the ward became a mess. Without Han Qian, they would have no backbone. During the interlude, the hospital door was pushed open and Qianling walked in. Why are you so noisy? Is this a little thing that makes you panic? Just stay quiet for a while. There is no need for you girls to show off in the movie now. Don't cry, Nuan. It's such a big deal, isn't it? They are still alive, what do your parents say? When the words came out, Wen Nuan was stunned for a moment, and then screamed. There is no one with my parents-in-law. In the small farmyard, the old man looked confused at the few uninvited guests. He ignored the 4 people who climbed over the wall and walked to the kennel. He whistled to Huan and pointed to the door. Huan and others a dog walked into the house obediently. The old man closed the door. When he looked at the 4 people, they were holding knives and sticks in their hands. The old man laughed. Come to take my life. The old man slowly took off the military coat he snatched from Han Qian. It was difficult to move in this thing. Then he took off his knitted sweater and placed it on the window sill, saying softly. My child stayed up all night knitting it for me, so I can't ruin it. When they saw the old man wearing a vest and stretching his muscles, the four people who wanted to take action hesitated. The tendon seemed to tear the vest apart. The old man looked around but couldn't find anyone who could take advantage of him. At this time Gianna's mother spoke. "Don't beat him to death." The old man chuckled. "I try my best, I try my best." Being looked down upon by an old man in his 50s, the four men were a little embarrassed. They raised their weapons and rushed towards the old man. The old man did not retreat but advanced. He dodged the watermelon knife and raised his hand to grab it. Holding the man's wrist, the watermelon knife seemed to have fallen into the old man's hand, slashing in front of the three people. Then the old man grabbed the man's waistband and raised it over his head to hit the three people. Gianna's mother in the room took out her cell phone, took a look, and called the police. She told the police to come quickly, otherwise the four people might die at home. The man holding the baseball bat stepped sideways to avoid it. Before he could recover, a collision hit his chest. Then, like a kite with a broken string, he knocked down the flower wall built by the old man and fell into the pond. Seeing this, the old man frowned and stepped forward and kicked the man who was thrown out in the stomach. Maybe there was ice on the ground. The man slipped 3 to 4 meters and lay motionless on the ground. It took just 10 seconds to easily deal with the two of them. The remaining two panicked and turned around to run away. However, the courtyard door was closed at this time. The old man stepped forward and grabbed one of them by the collar and threw him back. When the other person came out, the old man's fist fell on his face before the other person could fight back. In the house, Gianna's mother was watching TV seriously, indifferent to what happened in the yard. In the courtyard, the man who had been punched by the old man was rolling around on the ground. This punch knocked out his two front teeth. The old man walked towards the man who was thrown out in a hurry. At this time, there was something in the pond. The man climbed out, and the old man picked up a brick on the flower wall and smashed it. The pond was stained with bright red. The only guy who could still stand knew that he would not go out standing today. He turned around and rushed towards the door. Seeing this, the old man was furious. He stepped forward in 3 steps and then punched him with his fist. He grabbed the man's back, grabbed his shoulders, forced him to turn around, and punched his lower abdomen. The moment the man bent over, the old man put his head under his arm and fell backwards. Han Qian also used this trick at the Mid-Autumn Festival party. Looking at the four people unable to get up in the yard, the old man spat. "Bah, what the hell? Just like you, I can beat 40 of you, these useless things, you just got interested." The old man walked towards the door of the house, and just as he was about to speak, he became angrier as he thought about it, and gritted his teeth in a low voice. "Damn, I'm beating you up." After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 792. Li Jinhai hurried over. When he saw 4 people neatly placed on the flower wall like dried vegetables in winter, the corners of his eyes twitched slightly. Gianna's mother stood in the yard and smiled at Li Jinhai. "My in-laws, I don't know who they are. The murder weapon they brought is still here. My father was worried that I would be frightened, so he struck a little harder. Isn't that a big deal?" Li Jinhai looked at the 4 poor people again, his eyes twitching violently, and he said softly. "He committed a home invasion in self-defense." "Who is it?" "Xiao Song. Come over and make a brief note and tell the hospital to pick him up." The old man lowered his head and whispered shyly. "In-laws, can you please keep this record out of the bureau? I'm still stewing in this pot, and I'm going to give Ching Ching and Xianyuan a late-night snack later." Li Jinhai took a deep breath. "Forget it, don't write down the notes. Binhai is in chaos today, Yates had a car accident, and Suliang was hospitalized for some reason." After saying this, he stepped forward, leaned into the old man's ear, and whispered. What did you use to hit him? He was almost killed. The old man lowered his head and muttered. No, it's useless. I just slapped my fists. My mother told me to be gentle. I. 1 against 4? Can you be gentler? I finally know why Han Qian resisted the beating. You go to the hospital. I will take care of the rest. Be careful. Li Jinhai then left with his men, cursing and angrily yelling at his men as they left. What the hum is going on today? You all should keep your eyes open for me. If a big truck dares to walk through the city, it will be treated as intentional murder. Who is Xiao Song? Go and arrest the traffic police brigade. The captain called me and told him that no large trucks will be allowed to enter Binhai from now on. After the man left, Qian's mother slapped the old man on the shoulder twice and said scolding. I told you not to beat him to death. You were so harsh. If Huan hadn't kept screaming, I wouldn't have known you were about to beat him to death. The old man scratched his head and smiled. I haven't had a fight since I got married. I finally caught up with you once. I was a little excited. Where should we go now? The hospital. You take me to the hospital, and then you go to the in-laws. What I heard from Li Jinhai just now is that this time there is Xiao Han Qian's opponent taking advantage of his absence to do something evil. If I guessed correctly, 2 Xiao should be they are being targeted, like this. You go find Wen Shi, and then ask Li Jinhai to come to the hospital. The 2 of you go to the 8th district. It cannot be said that Xiao Qian is not here. Let's just pretend that we don't have 2 Xiao as a friend. Why did Wen Shi go there? It can also help 2 Xiao relieve some pressure. Don't tell Xiao Han Qian, don't interfere, let him come back and handle it on his own. Can you guess who it is? Xiaoliu. Xiaolin. It should be the one from the Lin family. This kid Xiaoliu is not a good person, but he is not bad at attacking behind the scenes. Proud people don't even bother to do these little tricks. It should be the kid from the Lin family who did it together with the people from the Yamanmen. Daughter-in-law, don't you help our son? Give me an idea or something. Any ideas? If you don't have any ideas, you've got 3 or 4 daughters-in-law. I'm too lazy to take care of you two. Don't fight, our son, don't hurt the girl. I don't care about other things, just go and put the dishes on. Hey, are you waiting? What if someone else comes? Han. Don't make me get angry with you. I'll go right away, don't be impatient. Don't fight, don't fight, don't fight. The old man really didn't have enough fun. How awesome did he think he was? Why are the people in the city so unwilling to resist beatings? When we were young, which fight didn't last for more than half an hour and ended in just a few minutes? Pika made his way to the hospital in the dark. Lin Zongheng smashed everything he could in Changjiang CEO's office. How come everyone was trash? Yates is not dead, Lu Shenga is not dead, Suliang is not dead, Qianwan is not dead, no one is dead. Everyone who was sent out was a waste. How many bastards did Wei Tiancheng leave behind? Lin Zongheng had vented enough and called Lin Mend. Give me one of your 2, I want it now. Give it to me now. On the phone, Lin Mend chuckled. If you had dared to yell at me earlier, I wouldn't have to worry about you anymore. People will come to you in a moment. Who are you going to touch? Nuan. Ruining Han Qian will only lead to Nuan being injured or even dead. After hanging up the phone, Lin Zongheng sat in front of the floor-to-ceiling window and looked at the night view of Binhai City. Binhai belonged to him, not Han Qian, the local dog, nor Lu Shenga, the eunuch. I, Lin Zongheng, am the prince of Binhai. Since they are all trash, let this guy go. How can it be done if he is injured? Someone must die. Han Qian was released, but he was not allowed to leave the capital for half a month. There was an investigation here and he had to be on call. Han Qian was a little surprised and asked softly if someone was helping behind the scenes. Zhou Hui laughed and said no answer. When Han Qian walked out of the yamen and saw Qin Yezu standing in the courtyard, Han Qian smiled. Lao Qin and Secretary General Li still used some favors. Qin Yezu stepped forward and smiled. You owe me a favor, Feng Lun, Kui Li, Zhang Shengli, and Ding Peng, you must capture and bring them to justice. Han Qian stretched out 2 fingers with a look of embarrassment on his face. Old Qin, I can only promise half of it. Either I will catch them too, or I will help you catch them. These are the only 4 people who are running away right now. As for the 2 people you mentioned, I only know their names now. Stop talking nonsense, has your phone been confiscated? Have a good time in the capital for half a month. May I tell my parents that they are safe? After speaking out, Secretary General Li spoke. You're not safe yet, let's go and have something to eat in the middle of the night. As soon as the 3 of them walked out of the courtyard gate of the Yamen gate, a pink Volkswagen CC stopped in front of the 3 of them. Anan opened the door and got out of the car. Holding a cotton-padded jacket in her hand, she stepped forward and took off Han Qian's clothes. The wrinkled cotton jacket put on his new look, buttoned it carefully, and then opened the passenger door. Qin Yezu had a smirk on his face, while Secretary General Li snorted coldly. Han Qian, we still need to discuss the matter between you and Xiahua. Han Qian pointed at Anan, looked at Secretary General Li, and smiled. Are you talking about her? I'm not even a junior or senior. She can't be compared to King Hu. Qin Yezu had been observing Anan's facial expression. When Han Qian said that she was not even a mistress, her expression did not change at all. The 4 of them got in the car. Han Qian said that he wanted to eat roast duck. Anan nodded and said call to reserve a location and go straight to Quanjude. When they arrived at the place, Anan got out of the car and opened the door for Han Qian first, and then Qin Yezu's slap fell on Han Qian's head. You don't have long hands. Han Qian chuckled and got out of the car. Qin Yezu and Secretary General Li were not in a hurry to go out, Lao Qin said. It's better not to tell him about Binhai yet. He suddenly left the capital now, and he will be thrown in tomorrow. Who is causing trouble over there in Binhai? Secretary General Li said calmly. I don't know. Now I'm very doubtful about King Hu's vision. Is this thing worth entrusting for life? The masses are very discerning. Which of these girls is worse than King Hu? If you get out of the car and eat roast duck, someone will pay for it. Qin Yezu got out of the car and walked into the hotel. During the meal, Anan Cheng stayed silent, poured wine, served dishes, and acted like a little maid, but her cold appearance had nothing to do with a maid. After having enough wine and food, Han Qian took out a small black box from his pocket and put it on the table, saying softly. They asked me to take this thing with me and said it would be returned to them in half a month. What is this? A tracker? Or a bug? Qin Yezu curled his lips. Everything you said is right. You should be more honest recently. If you call home and you can't come back, it will make them more worried. I will just call Li Jinhai later. My personal suggestion. Stop. Don't say anything, I understand. I won't make a single call. Han Qian's face was full of dissatisfaction, and Qin Yezu said contemptuously. Are you uncomfortable without locking you up? Now there is a reason to throw you in and lock you up for half a year. You kids should be more obedient. Han Qian poured a glass of wine and said softly. I'm still not good. After saying this, Qin Yezu stood up. I'm full, Secretary General Li, let's go. The 2 left. Han Qian looked at their backs with suspicion and whispered, something is wrong with these 2. Then he turned to look at Anan's black-stockinged calves, slapped him down, and said angrily. Aren't you cold? Anan trembled slightly and whispered. Don't you say you like it? Did I say that? Just take it as what I said. Go and book a room with a bigger bed and one that you can roll out of. I'm going to fight you for 300 rounds tonight. Annan blushed and whispered. I made the reservation when you came to the capital, and I also bought. What? Condom. Annan, you are lustful towards me. I will satisfy you, let's go. Han Qian took Annan's hand and went downstairs. Annan paid the bill. The two went out and got in the car and went straight to the Hilton. Han Qian quickly took off his clothes and got into bed. Annan said softly with a blushing face. I'm going to take a shower. Perhaps it was because women were slower to take baths. By the time Annan came out, Han Qian had already fallen asleep. Annan stood by the bed, looking at the sexy underwear she had prepared for a long time. She sighed feebly, got into bed and got under the quilt. Within a second, he was held in Han Qian's arms. I haven't had this thought recently. Even if you escape, I said that I won't take your body until you succeed. I want to see you succeed and become a rookie in the capital. Will it look like this today? Her breasts are not small. Go to sleep. Ann's heart was ups and downs. She was thinking, if she really became a rookie in the capital, would she still serve him like she does today? Maybe. Maybe not. In Binhai City, when the old man and when she walked out of the main entrance of the hospital, a man wearing a peaked cap walked into the hospital. As he passed by, he bumped into the old man's shoulder. The old man and the peaked cap took 2 steps back at the same time. Without saying a word, the old man punched the peaked hat with his fist. The latter blocked the chest with his weak arms and resisted the punch. The old man's physical fitness was very good. He was knocked back 2 steps for a collision that he was prepared for. At this moment, he knew that this peaked cap was a master, and he punched to test. The peaked cap frowned and looked at the old man, and the old man said calmly, "You're good." The peaked hat chuckled. "Both each other, can I go up?" The old man grinned. "Let's find a place to fight. I haven't met anyone who can fight for a long time. Besides, I won't let a dangerous person like you go upstairs. No matter who you are, this hospital is not open to the public yet." The peaked cap took a deep breath, turned around and left. The old man looked at the back of the peaked cap and said calmly, "Father-in-law, please go upstairs first. I may have some personal matters to deal with." Wow wow wow. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 793. When someone came to the house tonight, the old man knew that little Han Qian was not in Binhai these days, and someone was causing trouble behind his back. After learning that many people had been in trouble, and meeting this strange guy entering the hospital, the old man knew that this was not a good thing. After getting in the car, the old man called Qian's mother and explained the matter. Qian's mother told the old man to pay attention to safety. The pickup followed the Jetta closely, and the cap did not dare to walk on the main road. He was a wanted criminal. As long as he was discovered by surveillance, he would not be able to escape from Binhai tonight even if he was given wings. Under the protection of black clothes, the cap drove out of the city. The pickup truck followed closely and left the city. The peaked cap's mentality is a bit broken. He hasn't done anything yet. Is this old guy taking the wrong medicine? Following him all the time, the peaked hat took out his cell phone and called Lin Zongheng. "Master, I'm being targeted." "Did you do it?" "Success." "No, young master, I met an old man as soon as I walked into the main entrance of the hospital. I didn't do anything, and now he is following me in the car." "Do. The phone was hung up, and Lin Zongheng was trembling with anger. "Why is it so troublesome to do anything this year? Just kill one person. Where did this old man come from?" Lin Zongheng was pacing in the office with his mobile phone. Then the phone call was made to Lin Mend. Give me the other person, Ding Peng is being targeted. Already more than 20 kilometers away from the city, Ding Peng looked at the pickup truck behind him, took a deep breath, took out the pistol in his handbag, turned off the engine, and got out of the car, pointing it at the driver's seat of the pickup truck. The silencer muffled most of the sound of the pistol. The old man looked at the 2 bullet holes in the windshield and cursed in his heart. This is the only time in my life that I have guessed. Sure enough, I guessed right. Stepping on the accelerator, the old man rushed straight towards Ding Peng. When he was no more than 5 meters away, the old man opened the door and jumped out of the car, disappearing into the night. The pickup truck collided with the Jetta. Ding Peng got up and held the pistol in both hands. Go to the pickup. He was sure that the old man must have been shot. He stepped forward and looked at the car door that was not closed tightly. He opened the roof and drove the car and fired 2 shots at the military coat in the back seat. For a moment of confusion, a figure jumped behind him. Come, grab Ding Peng's neck and pull him back, and then close the car door like lightning. Ding Peng's hand that he didn't have time to retract was clamped hard by the car door. The old man strangled Ding Peng's neck with one hand and stepped on the car door with his left leg. Ding Peng kept struggling. The old man dropped his fist on Ding Peng's chest. Ding Peng opened his mouth and bit the old man's arm. It hurt, but the old man couldn't help it. Don't let him go. At this time, Ding Peng's right wrist was already bloody, and he didn't know where the pistol was thrown. The old man shook his arm and frowned. Are you a dog? Ding Peng bowed his waist, pulled out a dagger from his calf, looked at the old man with cold eyes, and said coldly. Don't meddle in your own business when you're old man, you can shed as much blood as you want. The old man lowered his head and glanced at the bullet hole in his right arm, then raised his arm to lick the wound and said calmly. My daughters-in-law are all in the hospital, and I can't let you run away. Han Qian is your father. You are close to death. Ding Peng didn't know why he said such a sentence. Maybe it was the pain in his wrist that made him lose the ability to think. But if you can kill Han Qian's father, it will probably be more effective than killing Wen Nuan. Ding Peng swung his dagger and rushed towards the old man. He got close and slapped him on the face before he could take action. He felt that he could no longer hear anything in his ears. He roared and prepared to strike again, but was slapped again. Blood flowed from his nose and corners of his mouth at the same time, and Ding Peng had some doubts about life. Impossible. The gap is definitely not that big. Ding Peng took 2 steps back, forced himself to calm down, and then stepped forward again. This time, before he could get closer, he was kicked in the chest, took a few steps back and fell to the ground. Flash sale? I originally thought that I couldn't beat the old man, and at least I could delay him for a while, but I didn't expect that it was an instant kill, a complete instant kill, without any room to fight back. Could it be said that the punch in the hospital was not the full force punch of this old man? The old man looked at the wound on his right arm again and said calmly. I won't play with you anymore. You're a bit more rubbish than I thought. Being so humiliated, Ding Peng couldn't help it. Even if he died today, he would share a high ground with the old man. He stood up and rushed towards the old man. This time he rushed towards the lower plate. When his hands hugged the old man's, Ding Peng smiled. The next second he panicked. The old man didn't move at all. He had used all his strength. The old man looked down at Ding Peng and said calmly. That's it? As soon as he finished speaking, an elbow hit fell, and Ding Peng fell to the ground with a thud as if his back had been broken. Then the old man bent down and grabbed Ding Peng's collar, forcibly pulled him up, and then punched him one after another. Fell on Ding Peng's face. A few minutes later, Ding Peng lay motionless on the ground. The old man sat on Ding Peng and took out his mobile phone to call Li Jinhai. In-laws, I'm at Zindi Hao. How many people can you ask to pick me up? Li Jinhai frowned and said doubtfully. What are you doing over there? I caught a little thief. I was worried that he would be harmful to my daughter-in-law, so I chased him. Come here quickly. I'm in terrible pain now. You are hurt. Shot in the arm. Are all the Han family crazy? If he didn't say anything, it would be impossible to tell from his tone that he was injured. Li Jinhai put down what he was doing and took the people there himself. Holding a gun was no small matter. Li Jinhai was very fast. When he got out of the car, he saw his in-law Zheng Zheng stabbing his arm with a dagger under the light of the car lights. Li Jinhai stepped forward and grabbed the old man's wrist, and pushed him into the car without any explanation. The old man resisted slightly and said softly, "You can't let the child humming know. Go back to the bureau and I'll find someone to deal with it for you, my in-laws. Don't you feel any pain? It hurts. But you can't go to see my wife with injuries, right? That man is lying there, and the gun seems to be in the pickup truck, my parents. Can this car be repaired at public expense? Is this considered a meritorious service?" Li Jinhai glanced at the badly hit pickup truck, and when he was about to say that he had to pay for it, the police officer in the distance screamed, "Bureau Li! It's Ding Peng. Ding Peng is one of the 4 people who are on the run from the Mid-Autumn Festival massacre. We have made a great contribution." Li Jinhai grinned with joy on his brows. "Repair a car? I'll have someone buy one for you tomorrow. Our city bureau will pay for it. My in-laws. You've been a big help to me. Xiao Song. Send your Uncle Han back and find some doctors to go to the city. The bureau will help your Uncle Han take care of the gunshot wound, take care of him." The old man scratched his head and said softly, "Honey, you caught the person, it has nothing to do with me, but can you get some anesthetic and deal with it in the car? There is no one there in Xiaonuan, I'm a little worried." Li Jinhai spoke. "Xiao Song, please let all the people on vacation come back to work, and ask the people from the second group to go to the second hospital to protect the safety of the people there." Then he looked at the old man and said, "My dear, just don't worry. If Ding Peng is arrested tonight, let alone protect the second courtyard, you can even go to your house and stand guard." The old man didn't take Ding Peng seriously. After getting in the car, he immediately called Chiener's mother to report that he was safe. Chiener's mother on the other side of the phone breathed a sigh of relief after hearing the old man's voice and whispered softly, "Road. Injured. It was a minor injury. I caught it and handed it over to Li Jinhai. It's now 12:45. I'll go to the hospital on time at 1:45. Did the kid give me any leftovers? I'm a little hungry. I bought you instant noodles and sausages." Okay, I'll go back right away." Xiao Song, who was sitting aside, was handling the old man's arm with a gauze swab. The old man didn't say a word, just frowning. Xiao Song had a question in his mind. Are all the Han family crazy? Like son, like father. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 794. Catching Ding Peng was an accident within an accident. Li Jinhai would never have thought that Ding Peng was in Binhai. A late-night phone call was made to his immediate boss Qin Yaezu. "Ding Qin. Ding Peng has been successfully captured and is on his way back to the station." Li Jinhai paused and was silent for about half a minute before speaking again. Han Qian's father assisted in the capture. Qin Yaezu hung up the phone and sat on the bed, a little confused. How could it be related to Han Qian's father? This is good news for Binhai's public security system and Han Qian. This Dingpeng has been on the run for a year without any news. Now he is captured with the help of Han Qian's father, which can clear the doubts between Han Qian and them. Thinking of this, Qin Yaozu walked to the window, lit a cigarette, opened the window and sighed. Feng Lun. Where are you hiding? At this time, Feng Lun was not sleeping. He was walking with Kui Li in the bustling Shinjuku shopping street. This is the most famous place in Japan and the largest porn area in Japan. At this time, he was wearing a white shirt and holding a white collar. Workers with briefcases travel together to have fun. Along the way, Kui Li and Feng Lun received many business cards handed to them by fashionable men with numbers and revealing photos written on them. Even though I can't read Japanese, I can guess pretty well. Feng Lun stretched and yawned. I'm quite loyal. I brought you here to have fun. If you're lucky, we can meet an actress who has appeared in the movie. It's just that she's not wearing clothes. I guess it's just fine with clothes on. Unrecognizable. Kui Li sneered. Looking at Feng Lun's clothes, he was even more contemptuous. He was wearing a floral suit on such a cold day, a gold chain around his neck, and a diamond ring on his hand. He was afraid that people here would not know that he was very wealthy. You came here on your own, don't push it on me. Kui Li's voice was low, but Feng Lun laughed. It's all the same. In the past year, we have traveled half of the world. Even though we have never been to Japan, we come here to have a look, and then find the descendants of those war criminals to spit on. They were born late and did not catch up with the war years. It's my biggest regret. Forget it, you can't hear me tell you this, just look over there. Looking in the direction of the finger, a trendy man was bending down and following two girls in a flattering manner. Kui Li frowned. Is he begging for mating? Vulgar. That's not right. Pimping in Shinjuku is a legitimate profession. The girls who come here have only two purposes. They are either looking for an opportunity to make money, or they are looking for ducks. These pimps are just trying to trick these little girls into getting involved. Talking about doing it for a few years, economic freedom, and so on. Damage. Zhou Yu hits Huang Gai, only those who are willing to hit and those who are willing to suffer. While talking, Feng Lun took Kui Li into a barbecue restaurant. When the waiter came to receive them, he found that they were two foreigners. He was a little embarrassed for a while. Feng Lun found a seat to sit down and spoke. You, bring the menu and do the work, or you will die. The waiter was confused, and Kui Li looked at Feng Lun with disgust. He took out his mobile phone, opened the web page, found an online translator, and started ordering. Not long after, the store manager came over and introduced him in English. Feng Lun waved his hand to tell him to get out, and turned to Kui Li said calmly. You said that the whole world speaks English, why don't they speak Chinese? In Malaysia, Canada, and even the United States, everyone can understand Chinese. This country with a small plaster flag is indeed not a thing. Poor us too, suffer. Morning, I'm tired of it all. Kui Li looked at the barbecue grilling on the iron plate and frowned. No news about Zhang Shengli and Ding Peng? They hid it deeply enough. I almost died in their hands. Feng Lun curled his lips when he mentioned these two people. The two of them. One is from Linmend and the other is from Niuqiudong. They are hiding in Binhai. I don't know what Li Jinhai's pig brain is thinking. If I don't help behind the scenes, I don't want these inhumane guys to cause harm. He will never be able to catch the common people in his lifetime. After saying this, he picked up the baked people and put them on Kui Li's plate. Kui Li lowered his head and whispered. You tricked Han Qian. He is very unlucky to meet you. He asked for it? Even if he didn't show up in the first place, how could I let these bastards touch Wen Nuan and Yan Qingqing? We are bad people, but we also have a bottom line, kill people, don't humiliate people. Rob, don't rob the poor. Daniel is it's an accident. I don't know when Han Jian will be able to deal with Niu Qiudong. I'm thinking about how to make a deal with him so that you can stay safe outside. What do I mean by myself? Find a girl for you. I can't think of a way to protect you, but Han Jian must have a way. Forget it. Let's eat, and after dinner we will go shopping. Kui Li ate a piece of meat and said softly. Do you think Lin Zongheng will let Ding Peng kill Han Jian? No, he's not stupid. Han Jian is not that easy to die. Ding Peng himself might leave him there, but it doesn't necessarily matter if he is cornered. Ding Peng can play with guns, but hand-to-hand combat is better than hooking a cannon. I can't beat Zhang Shengli. You can't beat Guan Yun Biao. I know you are the best. Eat, eat, eat. Feng Lun didn't seem to want to discuss these two people, and urged Kui Li to eat several times. When paying the bill after the meal, Feng Lun had an argument with the store owner. Your conscience is very bad. You want me to have 15,000 yen for such a thing? Baga. In the end, he paid and left. Tired of arguing with a country as small as your palm, Feng Lun completely let himself go when he arrived in Shinjuku. Calling someone? That was too boring, so he simply went up to chat with the little girl on the street. There were a few times when the approval team couldn't stand it, and when they heard that Feng Lun was not a foreigner, they just ignored her. They are all international friends. As for Kui Li, he went to find someone to fight with. At this moment, Han Jian was sleeping in the dark. The quilt was kicked off countless times. Anan, who shared the same quilt, sat on the bed with his hands folded and stared at Han Jian. After staring for a while, he felt that his eyes were a little tired. Once he covered Han Jian with a quilt, he took out his cell phone and sent a text message to his best friend. Are you asleep? At this time, Xiu Ci, who was arresting Lu Shengyu in nightclubs in the city, called directly. Anan quickly answered the phone and said softly. You want to kill me? What? Can you die if you talk at night? Han Jian is by my side. Anan, did you do this on purpose? I've been looking for my boyfriend all over the city, and you and Han Jian have finished having sex and are here to show off. Anan looked a little lonely and said softly. No sex, she said she would talk about it after I succeed. He is sleeping. Go to the box and have a look. He may be over there with Luo Fu. After hanging up the phone, a hand wrapped around An's waist, and a voice came from behind. Disappointed? I can grant your wish, but I hope the people in the monitor can hear your voice. Anan trembled, then threw away her phone and closed her eyes. I'm sleepy, go to sleep. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 795. The old man and Wenshi were sitting in the hall with a bowl of instant noodles. There were 2 bottles of Maotai on the chair. They had a mouthful of instant noodles and a drink of wine. They made do with a midnight snack. Wen opened the door and walked out with sleepy eyes, complaining softly. Why are you 2 eating here? I'm already hungry. The old man picked up a chicken paw and handed it to Wen Nuan, smiling naively. Eat when you are hungry. If you are not used to eating, Dad will go home and cook for you. You have been tired these past few days. When the little bastard comes back, I will ask him to apologize to you. When she raised his head and glanced at the old man, frowning. What are you apologizing for? Xiao Jian didn't go to the capital on his own. He went there because of no choice. If something happens at home, it's Xiao Jian's fault. Don't get used to Wen Nuan. Put down the chicken paws, Wen Nuan. Your father-in-law is too busy. I haven't eaten anything now. Oh. What should I put in? What's wrong with the child eating something when he's hungry? I won't die even if I take one less bite. Xianyuan, open it up and eat it. Tomorrow, your dad will make you chicken feed. It's better than the ones he bought. Wen Nuan squatted in front of the two fathers, smiling innocently. He smiled and laughed, but Wen Nuan couldn't laugh anymore. Tears fell to the ground, and he choked softly. "Dad, my second uncle called me and told me that you were injured. It's all because I'm useless. After Han Qian left, I couldn't support this team. Those who were injured, and those who were caught were caught. If I could live up to my expectations, it wouldn't be what it is now." Seeing his daughter-in-law crying and blaming herself, the old man panicked a little. He turned to look at Wenxi and kept winking. Wen tilted his head and looked at the old man with helplessness in his eyes. "How to coax? Saying that my daughter is not useless? I can't say this against my will. Is it trash? That's even more indescribable." Nuan wiped her tears, raised her head and grinned. "Don't worry, I won't tell Mom that you are injured. I'm going to see Yeji. She was also injured because of Han Qian." Wen Nuan stood up and went to see Yates. The two fathers stood up at the same time and followed him. Wen said softly that there was no need to follow. The two fathers pretended not to hear. "Yan Qingqing had a black man there, so don't worry." The elevator door opened, and just as Wen Nuan was about to walk in, the old man stretched out his hand to hold his shoulders, and whispered to a voice in the elevator. "Upstairs or downstairs?" The doctor in the elevator was stunned for a moment, then said softly, "Go downstairs." "Oh, let's go along." After saying this, he handed the instant noodles in his hand to Wen Nuan and said softly, "Xiao Nuan, my phone seems to be on the chair. You go back and get it? I'll go downstairs to smoke a cigarette." "In-laws, you can go with Xiao Nuan." The Wen family didn't think too much about it. Wen Nuan promised and turned around and trotted to get the phone, and told Lao Wen that he didn't need to accompany him. Lao Wen whispered that he would wait here and go downstairs together later. At this time, the doctor in the elevator spoke. "I'm sorry. Mr. Han, I might have to go to the department to get something. I'll take the stairs back upstairs." The old man held down the doctor who was about to leave and chuckled. "Let's go downstairs and have a cigarette together. The night shift is quite hard. I don't smoke." "Ha, naughty." The doctor was forced to stay in the elevator by the old man. The old man smiled at Wenxi. The elevator door slowly closed and began to fall. The old man suddenly took action, grabbed the doctor's hair and smashed it against the elevator box. The doctor raised his feet and put them on the iron on the wall. The old man was knocked against the handrail by inertia. There was pain in the waist, the doctor said calmly. "Old man, you suddenly take action without respecting martial ethics." The old man covered his waist and punched the doctor, saying in a low voice, "Next time you pretend to be a doctor, remember to wipe the mud off your shoes." No doctor would have mud on his shoes at 2 o'clock in the middle of the night. The doctor dodged the punch sideways, and then punched the old man's arm. The old man ignored the pain in his arm and rushed towards the doctor. He grabbed the collar with one hand and the waistband of his pants with the other hand. He roared and killed the doctor. Lifting up, in this art room, the doctor's elbow fell on the old man's head again and again. Someone hit the elevator door, and the old man shook his head and leaned against the iron wall, breathing heavily. The doctor stood up slowly, took a step forward and punched the old man in the face. The old man ducked his head and dodged, his arms in the air. Hit by a punch. The doctor landed one punch after another on the old man's injured arm. The elevator door opened, and the doctor trotted away from the hospital with his arms hanging weakly, disappearing on the street. The warmth of the fourth floor kept pressing the elevator button, but the elevator wouldn't come up. She was a little anxious. When she was about to take the stairs, the elevator finally came up. When the elevator door opened, Wen covered his mouth. Old Wen threw away the 2 bottles of wine in his hand and rushed into the elevator. At this time, The old man was sitting in the elevator, covering his lower abdomen with one hand, and stabbed with a dagger. Lower abdomen. The old man gritted his teeth and said. I didn't expect him to hold a knife. Stop talking, Xiaonuan, go call the doctor over. Don't tell your mother-in-law yet, hurry up. Wen turned around to find the doctor on duty. The old man grabbed Wenxi's hand and whispered. Don't panic, I know I can't die. Don't tell anyone about the stabbing. I had appendicitis before. When my wife asked about it, she said I drank too much and had a minor surgery. That person was doing it for warmth. Coming. I know, don't talk yet. As soon as he finished speaking, the doctors and nurses on the fourth floor came over with the hospital bed. The stubborn old man refused everyone's help and stood up and walked to the hospital bed to lie down. At this time, Zhang Shengli had already run back to the Lin family villa. His face was as pale as paper. He knew that this old man was powerful and Ding Peng had been arrested, but he didn't expect that this old monster could remove his two arms after being stabbed. Now both of his arms hurt as if they were broken. Lin Zongheng, who had returned to the villa, walked down and asked eagerly. Did it succeed? Zhang Shengli shook his head and gritted his teeth. I met an old monster in the hospital. He was seriously injured. Two of my arms were dislocated. Please find someone to reconnect them. After finishing speaking, Lin Ment, who was wearing pajamas, walked downstairs and told Lin Zongheng to find a doctor. Zhang Shengli cannot die now, he is still useful. As for Ding Peng, he didn't dare to say anything because his wife and daughter were still in Binhai. Lin Ment looked at Zhang Shengli and whispered. Have you been discovered? Zhang Shengli shook his head. I wore gloves and a mask throughout the whole process, and the surveillance cameras couldn't capture me. The information was inaccurate. The old monster who captured Ding Peng was still in the hospital, and he found out as soon as I showed up. Han Qian's father. Yes. How is he? It seems that Ding Peng's arm was injured very seriously. I was stabbed in the lower abdomen, but he couldn't die. I will take you to the plane after I reattach your arm, and then go hide for a while. Thank you, Mr. Lin, Secretary Niu, I'm over there. Don't worry about him yet. Good. In the hospital, Nuan was in a hurry, and finally he squatted down and choked in a low voice. Han Qian, come back quickly. Half an hour. In just half an hour, the old man walked out of the operating room on his own with a bandage around his waist. Madman. The Han family are all crazy.